Hi there my friends, good evening. Ngayon po ay araw ng Sabado at pauwi na rin ako, and katulad ng kinagawian ay ginaganap ko ang ilang minuto sa aking oras bago ako umalis sa trabaho sa tinatawag na debriefing. Minsan nakakatulong din po ito sa atin yung pagkakaroon ng debriefing through meditation or through sharing, sapagkat nabibigyan natin ng integration or kahulugan yung mga bagay na ginawa natin sa buong araw. Kasi minsan sa buong araw masyado tayong busy, and sometimes minsan toxic din ang environment, and sometimes marami tayong concern, palipat-lipat tayo ng mga concerns, watak-watak ang ating mga kaisipan. So at the end of the day, it's very important na mabuong muli natin ang ating mga sarili. At ang pagbubuo ng ating mga sarili ay nagaganap kung tayo ay nagkakaroon ng tinatawag na meditation or nakakapag-share tayo at nakikita natin muli ang ating sarili sa gitna ng mga kaganapan na ating ginawa sa maghapong ito. At ngayong gabi, medyo maulan po at malakas ang ulan sa labas, and it's been raining for almost several days now. We are suffering from this La Nina phenomenon. But anyway, setting aside this the kind of natural discomfort that we find because of this, nais ko pong bigyan ng pansin ang topic tungkol sa tinatawag na conflict resolution. At sa maraming taon na ito ay itinuturo ko, marami akong insights na natutunan sa tinatawag natin na conflict resolution. And conflict resolution is both a science and an art, because it involves knowing people. It involves about managing conflict. Usually, karamihan sa mga tao ay negative ang kanilang perception about conflict. They look at it from a negative point of view. But taking the positive point of view, we must consider conflict as a part of the process of change, because there can be no change without conflict. And that's why you see people are always resistant to change. They do not want to change because they do not want to go out of their comfort zone. But friends, there are certain things in this life that evolves, and the process of evolution involves some form of conflict. As Charles Darwin says, it is the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis process that often repeats itself as the process goes on. And in conflict situations, technically speaking, in conflict there are parties involved, and primarily there are two parties, and there are still secondary parties, tertiary parties, etc. And even those who are not party to the conflict can be a party to the conflict. But in the end, it depends on the paradigm of the participants in that particular conflict. Some people have this vision of a zero-sum concept. So when they say zero-sum, it's either you or me, we and them. So it's either or, and you do not envision a compromising future, a future of coexistence. So things like that. And this kind of paradigm in a conflict situation can be deadly and can be damaging, because each party thinks of eliminating each other, or each party thinks of inflicting damage on the other. So there is now the process of demonizing each other. That's why the role of the mediator is very important, because the mediator is the one that facilitates communication. In a conflict situations where people have already taken the paradigm of the zero-sum paradigm, it only shows that communication has already broken down. People in conflict, sometimes they talk a lot, they send a lot of messages, but they fail in the process of listening or understanding each other. Because in communication, empathy is very important, meaning to say you have to understand the situation of the other. You have to be in the shoes of the other in order to understand his point of view. Because when you understand the point of view or the situatedness of the other, you will also be able to adjust. And these are the things, this is the kind of situation or atmosphere or climate that the conflict mediator should be able to foster. It takes a lot of skill to be a mediator, because you have to earn the respect of each of the party, and at the same time you must have the social skills to communicate with each other. So that's the role of the mediator is very important. And people sometimes, the mediator should always bring the parties in conflict to a compromising situation. They should learn how to compromise. They must be able to see a shared future, because when they look at the shared future, then they'll be able to adjust themselves. They'll be able to think of the interest of each other. And I'm talking about a very secular, very practical topic. But there's also a spiritual dimension to this, because as Christians, we need to become peacemaker, because Jesus said in his beatitudes, he said, "Blessed are the peacemaker, for they shall be called the children of God." And at the same time, there was also an instance wherein Christ admonished his disciples to settle matters with their enemy or with their foes. Otherwise, he said, if you do not settle your problem with your enemy will hail you to the court, and the judge will judge you and will send you to jail, or will punish you. So before that happens, compromise with your opponent, settle with him. And I think this is the advice given by Christ to his disciples. And we see that in a practical way, our Lord was showing to us what it is truly to be a peacemaker. Sometimes when we are prideful, full of pride, and we don't want to bend to from our own stand, it becomes disadvantage to us. So it doesn't contribute anything to our interest. And I think these are the things that the mediator should think about. And I hope that someday you will appreciate conflict resolution, because conflict resolution or conflict transformation is not just a fad, but rather it is also an art. At the same time, it is also a science. And because we are always evolving, thinking and discovering all these techniques, and all the nature, understanding the nature of conflict. And this can always be understood, especially if we are rooted in the social sciences, in psychology, sociology, because these are the liberal sciences. Sometimes people don't appreciate, especially in the technical circles, sometimes they do not appreciate the role of the liberal arts. Liberal arts are very important. That's why they are called liberal arts, because from the Latin word liber, meaning free. These are the arts, these are the knowledge, the form of knowledge or application of knowledge that makes us human, that frees us from our ignorance, and brings us to the level that we are free in our thinking, that we are no longer under the cage of ignorance. That's why it is called the liberal arts, because it frees the human spirit. It frees our creativity, our sense of value, our sense of beauty, our sense of worth. And this is a very important component of education. And thank you so much, my friend, for allowing me to share these things with you. And I hope that in some way, somehow, I was able to impart a nugget or a droplet of some of the things that I discuss in the classroom, in the lectures. And I know that if this will be a lecture, this will take several hours, but we only have a few minutes, and I'm sharing with you some of these droplets of information that I used to share in my lectures. So thank you, my friends, and I hope keep safe and keep dry. It's all wet all the time, and we are struggling to keep ourselves dry. And I hope you are fine and enjoy your family, enjoy your Sunday, and don't forget, tomorrow is a day for going to church. And let us remember our date with the Lord and date with our fellow believers. So thank you very much, and have a nice evening.